Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on WhoKnewPodcast.com. You can leave comments there or email us at WhoKnewPodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at WhoKnewPodcast. And find us on Facebook. Today we're taking a quick trip in the TARDIS with Classic Who.
Today it's Who Classic.
Today's episode is Silver Nemesis. It's the 25th anniversary season, this being the third serial in the season, and it started off with Remembrance of the Daleks, which we already covered. This story is written by Kevin Clark, directed by Chris Clow. It originally aired on the 23rd of November through the 7th of December 1988. Part 1 was watched by 6.1 million viewers, got the most views. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Heather.
Hello, this is Kelsey.
Hey, this is Josh.
Hi, this is Brian.
Hi, it's Frank.
This is No Madness. This is England. Hi, this is Auburn.
In 1988, South America, a group of Nazis toast the coming of the Fourth Reich. Their leader, De Flores, carries a silver bow. In 1683 Windsor, the Lady Peinforte and her servant Richard discuss a special silver arrow and discover that a comet will hit Windsor on November 23rd, 1988. Drinking a potion, they travel through time to 1988 Windsor. In the present, the Doctor's watch sets off an alarm reminding the Doctor that the Earth is in imminent danger, a danger he's known about since 1638. Nearby, the comet, which is actually a spaceship, crashes. The Doctor knows that Lady Peinforte built a statue of herself with silver that fell from the sky. De Flores places the silver bow on the ship, which begins to reanimate the statue inside. The Doctor tells De Flores that if the silver bow and arrow are brought together, the silver statue will come alive and destroy the planet. Suddenly, a spaceship lands filled with Cybermen.
I like how automatically all Germans, especially Nazis, listen to Wagner.
Oh, absolutely. I almost put that in the summary just because it was so funny. Flight of the Valkyrie is just, ingrained.
Yeah,
They
not just
up.
Wagner, but
Yeah, they even bring that up in Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry's like singing or humming Wagner, and then there's a Jewish guy behind him like, "What are you doing?"
I thought the Nazis were particularly funny,
Yeah.
and I think you have to kind of portray fascists a little bit like silly in order to, take away some of their power. But
a little Hogan's Heroesy.
yeah, and I was definitely getting like Leslie Nielsen vibes from Flora.
Flores.
Yeah,
I will
Flores.
say though that like when he said, this is the rise of the Fourth Reich, like they cut to them and they're just, it's like a scene out of Stripes.
There's like 4 of them in the room or something.
Yeah.
Where are the
I mean,
like,
Fourth Reich?
Yeah,
it
cool.
was I could tell it was supposed to be like a dramatic moment, and they just central casting. Who owns camos in your wardrobe? Come on down to the Doctor Who shoot.
So you knew
Well,
he
be
was.
white, have blonde hair or gray hair,
Right.
and have just the most perfect subtle German accents you can do. Very subtle.
You know he was a bad guy right away when he's going to kill a parrot. It's like, okay, this is a bad guy.
And then they cut
Pigeon.
back
It was
in
a
time
pigeon.
to
Come
Lady.
back.
Oh,
was
it was
a
a
pigeon.
parrot.
No.
Oh, it
He
was
was
a
about to
parrot.
shoot a parrot. Then it cuts to Lady Peinforte in the next scene, and she
She's-
almost kills a pigeon.
Oh, silly me.
Yes, almost kills a pigeon.
So I thought, since
the bad guy.
they took so much care and attention into that whole like bird killing moment, I thought that was gonna matter somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
You
kept
should
waiting
s-
for like bird stuff, but like
Well,
there was never
I
any
think
bird
it
stuff.
established that they both have the bow. Like it linked them together in that way.
And
That's what it was
black hearts.
for. It was yes, exactly. It was for that purpose, and also like these are bad people trying to kill animals.
And they're terrible shots. because neither one of
Yes,
the birds
yeah.
was flying. They're just
Right,
one's
right.
fucking on the ground, the other one's stuck in a tree. It's like
They're no ace with the slingshot.
true.
I did think that transition in that like really abrupt time jump right in the beginning was kind of it was disorienting, but at the same time, or disorientating. I don't know which one of those is proper English. But at the same time, I was kind of like, ooh, I was excited because we were gonna get, Nazis and some old school England. So I was like, okay, that'll be a nice mixture going on, I see.
Yeah, the jumping back and forth between 1988 and 1638, it was happening very quickly, all at once at the beginning. But one of my favorite moments in this episode is when Lady Peinforte and her servant time travel, and they're in they're giving it their all.
I mean, they are committing to that bit.
But then they land in 1988, and I loved that moment. I think I laughed out of just sheer joy that I thought it looked good. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that
it was
worked.
very subtle. Like the only thing wrong with it was like the people in the restaurant didn't seem all that thrown.
Well, they did kind of do
like
that.
They didn't even notice.
They're very British about it.
They're
very
British,
stoic.
Right.
I
did like though that when they traveled through time, there was a similar sounds to when the TARDIS traveled. I thought.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was a similar sound in the background of like the time tunnel.
That's cool.
I think the people at the pub were thinking, I drank too much or I need to drink more. So that was
It was weird that it was a potion that traveled them through time. Normally with Doctor Who, it's some sort of contraption.
Yeah, so do we have what's the one-line explanation for that she gave? Or do we have
Black
any
magic.
kind of explanation?
Later.
Yeah, and I get that that's not the focus. The focus is let's get these people together so that havoc can ensue.
And the arrow. He mentioned like the arrow helped her do it as well. Like this,
Oh, okay.
Wanting to be with
because if it were just black magic, I would love to see them use that again in a future episode where there's like some witchy stuff going on. That'd be cool.
Oh, and going back to South America, the date on his old-fashioned computers, November 23rd, which is the premiere of Doctor Who, except 1988.
So this first episode actually aired on the actual 25th anniversary.
Yes.
Okay, so because I always thought it was Remembrance of the Daleks, but I guess that just signaled the beginning of
the season,
of the 25th season. Okay.
Yeah. So when we did Remembrance of the Daleks, there was a lot of anniversary callbacks and Easter eggs, if you will. And I kind of feel like they did that throughout this whole season because this is the third story in the season and they're still doing these anniversary homages.
That's why they even made it silver, right? Being silver, being special.
Yep.
Yeah, they did that for the 25th.
That's right in front of my face and I missed it.
Well, but the thing is, it also is Cybermen and they're always silver. So it's really not, it doesn't stand out. But
Classic.
the
Classic
mystery.
Heather.
Take another pill.
And this is still like uninterrupted from the very first Doctor Who, or has there been breaks? Okay.
No, that's correct. This is the last classic Doctor, before they take that break.
Right, because then the next thing is the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's only one.
Isn't that break a cancellation?
Yes.
Break.
At the time,
right.
yes. In hindsight, a break. We were on a break.
And at the time of the show, when they come into the jazz performance, it's like, why are two people wearing headphones?
They were Cybermen. They were Cybermen.
I didn't notice them the first watch.
I did. It was hysterical.
I did not get that they were Cybermen.
They were members only for Cybermen.
Jazz ain't for everyone,
They don't. I had a silver members only jacket. It
was a thing.
It was good.
I had one. I had a maroon one. I had a blue one. I had a gray one.
Yeah, but I had silver. God, I loved that jacket.
It was a thing.
Anyway,
and then they just start shooting at the Doctor, and it's like, who are they and why? And with the headphones, because I never made that connection.
Because later
on, because I don't think they really did anything like that.
They didn't do a single thing with it. But later on, you do see.
Right.
De Flores has headphones on.
for like 2 seconds, and then the next scene he doesn't. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, that's supposed to be part of the conversion.
Yes.
Cyberization.
Yeah. And again,
You shouldn't be
nothing
able to
happens.
take them off if that's. Oh well, I guess they tricked it.
It was a
They
double
tricked him.
cross, yeah.
They didn't tell
Okay,
anybody that their
'cause-
Wi-Fi was off, so it wasn't working.
There was no Wi-Fi.
I did think the cyber goons were a little too goofy. Like
Oh, yeah.
when they shot Ace and the doctor and they fell into the water, they're like smiling at it
Yeah.
and then just like walk away. And so it was hard to they were a little more goofier than I think the cyber goons that we see later in the reboot.
They're also very unimposing. They just look like people with headphones. They don't look like assassins.
And I also wanted the tape decks that they were using to have some sort of like connection later.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right.
Walkman.
The cassette tape.
He picks up a cassette tape at the meteor site.
It's like after
puts
the
it,
cops die, like one of them. So yeah,
puts
There's
it in the Walkman, and then the
hanging.
electricity. And they're like, "Ugh." Yeah, kind of confusing.
So Sylvester McCoy was he had the flu, so that there's a stunt double that falls into the water with Ace, and so that's why you kind of hear her line is added in afterwards. She's not really speaking. I can't remember what she says, but you see her
I
back.
hope my tape's okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
she does say that.
Yes, I laughed going, well, that was the most 80-yard line I'd ever seen and heard.
And when she said that, I was like, well, I guess that's going to come up again.
Yeah, and then speaking of that, her tape deck was destroyed in remembrance of the Daleks, if we remember that. And then the Doctor has replaced it since.
It looks heavy. I would not want to lug that around.
Yeah. Was
That's how
It was like in the 80s. It was just part of the 80s. It's just attached to your shoulder.
Oh, the boombox? No, I think
Yeah.
I thought the boombox was the Doctor's contraption, and she had a real like Walkman.
Well, yeah, but he.
Oh, I see
made
what you're
it for
saying. She
her
had to
or
carry
something.
the contraption around.
Yeah, she did.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And plus those had, I think, D batteries, so those are the heavy ones. Just think about that.
Brutal.
But it
I
was
also-
portable.
That was the 80s. Awkwardly portable.
That was the big thing then.
And we
Those
liked it.
camcorders. Oof.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
Also,
think
like
Frank with the camcorder, I think Frank just always had one surgically attached to his shoulder, because he always had one of those.
I was vlogging before there was such a thing. What I was liking, and it's just a consequence. Or coincidence. It's just a coincidence. It has nothing else. But the Doctor wearing a fez. It was so much fun to see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that moment,
Yeah.
Going back to seeing that he wore
Yeah.
a fez before.
That's another one where he got it. He first got it, or the modern version, he got it in the Big Bang, and because he had the mop to indicate which one he was in, and as far as like which time Doctor. I'm saying that wrong. Which out of continuity in time travel the Doctor was in was indicated by the fez and the mop. But then also in the Day of the Doctor, when they are in the Black Archive with Clara. Matt Smith does this great take where he looks at a fez and it's archived and he's like, ah! And then she's like, is there ever going to be a fez that you just don't walk by and like not geek out over? He's like, no, never. So it's cool to see in this one that, and they're also rummaging through a sort of basementy archivey thing.
Isn't that where Matt Smith got the fez as well? Like he got it in like a museum or archivey thing as well?
Yes.
He got his in the Black Archive, the
Right.
unit archive. Yeah.
at the jazz concert, I thought it was a very modern like problem when the Doctor's alarm goes off. Today we would say, oh, who's got their cell phone on? But there, Ace said she hates it when alarms go off at gigs. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. I'm sure it's been an issue forever, but we think it's
But also,
modern.
it's so relatable. I have
And
so
really-
many
You
alarms
remember
on my
though that
phone that I don't remember what they are. So I was like, wow, even though this is 1988, I feel this.
Mhm.
Like, I really feel this in my gut.
It was one of the most annoying things is a lot of people would have those phones and they would automatically have it set to beep on the hour.
Oh,
And so you'd be sitting in class and you'd hear like 3 or 4 beep 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 beep. It's like, did you really need to know that it was 1 o'clock right now?
I used to wear a digital watch that beeped every hour.
You were
I was
annoying
Me on
me.
my toes.
I had a calculator.
Yeah, I had one too.
I loved
Pac-Man.
that thing too. God, I miss the 80s.
That thing lasted me till I think high school, freshman year. It broke.
Speaking
There
of
was-
which, my alarm just went off to feed my cats, so I'll be right back.
There was one scene in this. There was one scene in this that just looks so weird when they're showing the Doctor. I think it was when he was looking at the crashed asteroid spaceship, and his scarf goes in front of his face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Was that on a string? Because
No,
the way that
so-
it looked,
Yeah, so they wanted to cheat it. They got a fan and they turned it on Ace and the Doctor, so it's like, oh, the spaceship is landing. It's creating things in the atmosphere.
Don't remember that moment. I'd have to go back and watch.
I
It's
was
at the
struck by
End of episode 1.
I was struck by how the watch didn't have Gallifreyan writing on it like they do in the modern Who.
Yeah.
Like the first thing when he opened it up, I wouldn't have expected it to, thinking about it, but like as soon as I saw it and it wasn't, it was just a digital watch, it struck me as different.
He was in his non-homesick period.
Right.
Oh, going back to that, the jazz quartet, that is Courtney Pine. He's an actual British saxophonist, and he is a Professor Pine. He was awarded the CBE, the Commander of the Order of the British Empire, in 2009 for his services to jazz music. And the quartet playing with him are also, I guess, band or musician members, or part of his band. Adrian Reed, Ernest Mothel, and Frank Tonto.
I knew they had to be somebody when she asked for his autograph.
Yeah, so I don't know who would. I mean, like I'm only thinking of like Kenny G, but then I don't even know if I'd want Kenny G's autograph.
Yeah, but if you like jazz.
So Kenny G's jazz now.
No. That's not what I meant. I meant if you like jazz, you would like what he was playing.
Yeah.
so did anyone think that the living metal was going to be the Terminator?
Yes, I did. I was like, please. Oh no.
And there's like, this is what it turns out to be. But
It's funny in the commentary on the DVD. Every time some special effects happen, they're like, "Well, here's some dodgy effects." So even they are acknowledging that the effects are not the best. So I kind of like that.
I will say though, I like their use. Like most everything was, shot with models, miniatures, the same way they did Star Wars. It was just because it was
Yeah.
on video, and the cameras are different and stuff like that. It didn't look good. But like as far as like when the ship landed and all that, it was done. It all worked. Nothing looked like it was like wonky. It just was horribly composited and things like that.
So at the exact same time, what gets me is that at the exact same time, this was third season Star Trek Next Generation.
Yep.
And you look at what the Next Generation was doing as compared to
Yeah.
Doctor Who, and it was just kind of like, come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah, put some
It's
money.
the late 80s. If you're
matter
going to
of
do it,
money.
put some money into it.
it did look like they're trying to kill the show. They're trying to let it die.
It's a good point.
But where they did use the money in this,
Yeah.
I guess, season is all the pyrotechnics, because
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh!
Remembrance of the Daleks had a bunch of things exploding. They blew up a Dalek, and then in this one, the Cybermen and the neo-Nazis sort of are combating each other. It's just, wow, that's where you put the money? Okay.
I think my favorite part was when they had the squibs going off on the railings.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, see, you really didn't need to do that for Doctor Who, but you did, and that's great.
Yeah.
I think that stuff just is easily
What kind
accessible.
of guns were the neo-Nazi?
Oh, that's a sign of the 80s, the Uzi. The Uzi was popular in the 80s because it was
Oh yeah.
a small machine pistol that could do a rapid rate of fire.
Does it really sound like that though? They sound like cap guns.
No, it's probably because they worked out. Those didn't seem like real blanks or anything. It was just some sort of. There was no muzzle flash. I mean,
I'm just surprised they didn't, put a better sound effect over it. But
are you?
I guess I'm not surprised. No, I'm not surprised at all. Wrong wording.
You
I wish
expect
they
more.
had. There you go.
I will say this: I thought one of the best effects throughout was the glowing bow and arrow, is it didn't like cover up. I found it. I mean, I'm a little colorblind, so I didn't necessarily. I don't know if it was green or this, that, or the other, but the way it was glowing, it looked seamless. Like I kind of wonder how they did it.
It
I
was
have a theory.
it was an in-camera trick because me and Brian were talking about that. They just raided the Richard Donner
Color.
Superman, and they took the Kryptonian
That's what
stuff.
I was.
That's what they did.
Right. That's because at the end, when you see the statue, I was like, I wonder if they used the Superman material or. Oh, so they actually used the very material that was in Superman?
Not the very material, but the same material.
The same
Not-
idea.
yeah.
Right.
And then what
And
happens is that it's a particular material that if you shine UV light on it, it exposes it in such a way on camera like that.
No, it did look good, and it was nice that they were able to make it look like it glowed. I don't know if they assisted that with more like VFX after, but the bow and the arrows glowing, and then the statues glowing was really neat. I mean, they were definitely mixing like practical with the extra graphics, like the time travel sequence, and also when the cyber goons were getting electrified after the police. Like, yeah. That particular one, did you guys notice the shadow move across the goons? Like the two goons are there with the headphones on and they get the zap, but there's like a shadow that moves over one of them. And I think it's to darken them so they can shine a light on their faces to help the effect. But yeah, it was kind of clumsy.
To hide their acting. I will say this for, the lower quality production of the video and the way it's shot and things like that. This is a really epic shoot, like very extensive with shot choices, and not necessarily all the shot choices were great, but like it wasn't really economically shot, and I'm not saying in a bad way. Like they went for it, or like I think because of the ease of video, now that video cameras fit on your shoulder, as opposed to when they went outdoors during Tom Baker's time, even like it was an ordeal to shoot outside, so they would shoot a lot of long takes, a lot of stuff from a distance and stuff like that, and it would feel more like a play. Whereas this, they just kept, if they needed a shot, they shot it, and there was a lot of ambitious stuff too. Anyway.
Yeah, I liked all the on location shots or on location shooting. We're outside, we're by a river, we're in a warehouse, we're in Windsor. Oh, we're at the castle.
Right.
Did that happen in this part 1 where they saw the queen? Or is that part 2?
I think it's in part 2.
It is. Okay. No, I think it's in part 1 because
you're right, it is part 1.
They go under in the basement.
Right.
I love how there's a sign that's just like, this is where the royal apartments are. Don't come in here.
Yeah.
Windsor has those, by the way.
Wow, really? But there was no guard anywhere.
Well, there was someone who, if you watch The Crown, I found out that someone did just kind of like make their way into the breaking and entering into the castle, into her bedroom at one point. And I think it was in the 80s. Maybe this is a reference to that.
Oh,
that was the 90s,
yeah.
Brian?
It was the 80s.
It was the 80s. Yeah. So maybe this is a reference.
That's why they got canceled.
And she just chatted with him until the guards showed up.
Right.
Oh, yes.
I do remember that. But that is not Windsor Castle. That opening shot is stock footage, and then they go to Arundel Castle to double as Windsor, and they got a
in Lord of the Rings.
What's the place in Frozen?
Oh, that's what it was. Frozen.
Yeah, no. And then they got a Queen Elizabeth lookalike who has pretty much made her career playing Queen Elizabeth in like comedy shows. Yeah,
very good lookalike.
And then
I also like that they had the corgis.
Yeah,
Queen without the corgis.
Mm-hmm. And John Nathan Turner, who was kind of like the showrunner at the time, since this was the 25th anniversary, he sent a letter to Prince Edward asking him to appear. Prince Edward declined, and so that's why they got a lookalike. And then those tourists that are part, like the Doctor and Ace kind of join in. Those are all people from the show, like a bunch of writers, directors, and then one of them is Nicholas Courtney, who plays the Brigadier.
Oh wow!
I want to look at that again.
I think it works better that it was the lookalike with the dogs as opposed to Prince Edward, because if I saw Prince Edward in a show, I probably wouldn't recognize him. Whereas a woman of her, she's more visually famous, and then she's got her corgis. Like that just says
The Queen.
That's just a symbol of
Yeah,
Queen
that-
Elizabeth.
That was
The
very
dogs gave
timeless.
it away, but then when you see her outfit in her hair, you're like, oh,
It was a better choice because it's timeless.
Yeah.
But
yes.
in 1988, I bet it would have been like, oh my God, it's the actual Prince Edward, you know?
Sure, but
Even though
yeah.
he's the boring one, but he's happy to
Right.
be the boring one now.
Very
really.
true. Topical.
And also, sorry, I just have to say it. He was cute. Okay, moving on.
I like how they ended it when the doctor says, "I'll tell you 350 years ago."
Yeah.
Okay, then we go into the next one.
It's also a good cliffhanger, the Cybermen emerging.
Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
introduced
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
Wait, where'd that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that because I wasn't familiar with anything. So, in hindsight, it was really obvious with the headphones, what you said, and stuff like that. But like, I also, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Like these older episodes with the Cybermen that have personalities always kind of rub me the wrong way. But I mean, that's how they were before the ones that I knew, so I can't really complain about it.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, it's like new
why
Who
a
viewers
lot
have
of
been
the-
trained.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's why, Josh, a lot of classic Who fans don't like the new Cybermen
I see.
because and it's really apparent in this one because the cyber leader is so like human.
Yeah.
There was even my
Very-
one part in the last episode where he's just kind of like standing around and they're chatting what they're gonna do, and it's like, okay, that wouldn't happen today. And so like classic Who fans don't like how robotic the Cybermen. They became much more Borg.
Right.
When they were chatting so casually, I was like, are they in a chat room? And I don't know if you noticed the black handles on the cyber leader. That's how you indicate who the leader is in the group.
I didn't notice.
I didn't notice either.
So if the Cybermen weren't originally like I knew them from New Who, what was their whole deal? Like what were they?
They were a humanoid race in a different planet that wanted to prolong their life and make themselves better by eliminating emotion.
Well, they didn't do a very good job of it, right?
And organs, I'm assuming.
Well, they have
certain
personality.
organs, yeah, certain organs.
They just use the brain, don't they?
They're not run by emotion. Brian, what?
They're not. They don't use. I thought they just used the brain, and the rest was robotic.
Well, the brain, the heart, and the nerve.
So Wizard of
That was a
Oz,
wizard.
basically.
That was exactly. That's what I was going for there. The knife.
The Cybermen attack everyone. The Doctor steals the bow, and he and Ace escape. Peinforte and Richard go to Peinforte's tomb, looking for the statue, and the Nazis find them there. Richard gives them the arrow and the statue. The Doctor discovers that there's a cyber fleet of thousands of ships heading towards Earth. The Doctor and Ace decide to offer the bow to the Cybermen, but instead, the Doctor uses the bow to awaken the statue. They run and the statue follows them. The Doctor gives the bow to the statue and then makes repairs to the comet ship, intending for the statue to use it to destroy the cyber fleet. The Nazis arrive, take the bow, and enjoy their victory. But then the cyber leader arrives and kills most of the Nazis.
It kind of felt like the whole interaction between the Nazis, once they get into close quarters with each other, it was almost like a Three Stooges routine. No, you take this. No, give me that. Give me that. Give me that.
Yep. But one cool thing that I saw in this is there was that sort of running thing that they do in the show with the TARDIS getting hit by an arrow. So we have that in here. It happened in Gridlock and the Shakespeare Code, and then it happened in Robot of Sherwood in the Modern Who. So I like that that's something that keeps going on.
I'm curious, little tech trivia question. So in the opening credits, when Sylvester McCoy's face pops up, is he wearing like some like metallic like makeup all over his face? Because it looked like that more than just the way that the video was filmed.
Yeah, I can't remember what they did, but they did makeup on him, and then that's why his hair is so not his hair.
Oh, really? It just happened to be. Yeah.
It's funny because they shoot that stuff before they like get into proper production, because they did that with John Pertwee, where his hair is kind of shorter. It's not that curly wiliness that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what they use for the opening, and then when they bring it back for Sylvester McCoy, it's like they shot it as soon as he was casted or something, because his hair is completely different in the shows that aired.
Right.
I really like the music for the main titles on these.
I do too. Yeah.
It feels classic, but it also feels like not too 80s for me, but it feels really like strong. And I know like the original music was also kind of at the forefront of that electronic sound. Yeah. So it kind of is caught up. The only thing that's really 80s in that main title is the logo.
Yes.
Like the Doctor in like a weird yellow font, and then the Who in this big blocky letters. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing
what about those
when I saw the titles, I wondered would I have thought the same thing in the 80s? Like if I was watching this when I was a kid, would I have just thought, oh, it looks like a cool logo, or would I have been like, that's so cheesy?
I don't know.
Well,
but there were like you know when they have like those asteroid computer graphic things in the beginning flying. Yeah. I remember things like that, especially on your network sci-fi shows. And yeah, we were like sitting there going, well, that doesn't look very good, but it was better than anything we'd ever had. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was just kind of like,
There's this trend in the 80s of making things colorful and futuristic looking that never really was able to hit right.
Pastels were big.
Pastels were very big.
Yeah, why are we wearing more pastels these days? More neon?
That's what they always said the future would look that way.
Auburn, you bringing up like you enjoying that it's not too 80s. I think it's because it's like, to me, I always say that I like the 80s music and it's going to be timeless because it's chock full of preservatives. So I think that's why this particular theme song does that.
Because it's all synthesized, you know.
Yes.
And saxophones.
Hey, I love saxophones. There should be more saxophones in modern music. That's all I'm saying.
Especially with your shirt, Heather.
That's right. I'm a jazz gal. So the Doctor, every time they went back to that tent, you know, he kept playing the chess game. And am I like not smart, or who else is moving the pieces? Is he playing with himself, or is he said the pieces were moved when he came back? Who is he playing chess with? I'm so confused.
This particular script suffered from a lot of things, and like without going too much into it, the Cybermen weren't originally, like in the first draft, they weren't there. They were asked to be put in because of the silver anniversary, the 25th anniversary. So they said Cybermen, and Sylvester McCoy wanted to also fight or face off with the classic villains because he hadn't done that in his first season. So this season starts off with the Daleks, in remembrance of the Daleks. He gets the Cybermen in this episode, and then he'll get the Master in the next season. The writer wanted to throw a lot of things into this, and I think that's one of those things that suffered, kind of like the skinheads and the cybergoons. There were supposed to be more of them, so that's why we don't really see these things completely developed.
Well, also, we never got the payoff for the painting of Ace.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a painting of Ace in the 1638 clothing, and then
right. I was waiting for that, and then I forgot.
I don't remember if that pays off.
Like in a future episode.
Yeah, I think I don't know.
Well, I just thought the Doctor was playing chess. You know, someone else was playing it, and he's showing that he's behind things and he's moving everybody around and orchestrating things like a chess player.
Which I did get. I did pick that up from it, but I just felt like the first time they came back to the tent, he specifically mentioned that the pieces were moved, which means he didn't start the chess game with himself or whatever, you know, like I assumed whoever removed the dude's body was the one who moved the chess pieces, and that there was going to be more to it than that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Part of me wondered if we were going to see like a future Doctor went back before this Doctor and was manipulating things in that way.
How I got it was himself in the past, because he was saying he set his alarm so that it would go off. So he was already aware of the summer Nemesis and sending it into orbit, so he's already done that. And he knew Peinforte.
That makes sense.
The way he said it, it was like, they always have just like these one-line explanations. We talked about this before, that nowadays we need more to either see it or explain it a little bit more. These one-off lines aren't the same as what we're used to watching nowadays. Because it seemed like, I kind of liked it when his alarm went off. It's like, oh, he already did this, and now it's just reminding him that what he did, so that he would remember when he's in the spot. So I
Kelsey,
like
to go
that.
along with
if
what
it
you just said.
explained it
Oh,
better.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
It would make sense if the doctor was the one who left that note. Also, because for some reason she knows who the doctor is and threatens to spill his secrets. How would she know that unless?
They've met before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, that
This
reminds-
is, regardless, this is so much to have to deduce, given all of the hints
Yeah.
and the clues that we were given. It's like, wow, okay.
Especially just in a
May-
3 hour or 3 episode. It was only an hour and a half or so. And so it's like you only have most storylines are at least 6 to 8. You know, this one only had 3, so they just really chopped a lot of things out of it.
Well, maybe that it was to make room for the Cybermen if it wasn't originally part of the story. Because what you just described sounds like a pretty full story in and of itself, without involving a third antagonist.
I like Peinforte as a villain. I really like the idea of this story that does incorporate like time travel in a way that I think is often missing from Doctor Who. Like the ideas that, you know, we're going before to affect things now, and even the painting of Ace, if it's not explained later, it's still kind of that whole thing. Well, you haven't done it yet, but it's still here. So I like the ideas behind it. Like I said, I really like Peinforte as a villain. And yeah, it would have been really cool to see her fleshed out more. I think, you know, she's a time traveling magic wielder. It seems like she could have been an equal of some sort to the Doctor, and could have been like a neat season foil if it was today. You know, if it was a modern season,
Yeah.
like she would have been the red or the secret, the bad wolf, you know, of the season. Would have been really neat, especially if she could do more time travel and kind of defeat the Doctor at his own game.
Am I the only moron who thought she might possibly have been based on a real figure because of the detail of her tomb and her all this other stuff? I thought maybe she was like some lady with a bad reputation, like who got burned at the stake for being a witch or something. But anyway, that they wrote into this episode.
I can see that.
I didn't
But,
think that, but I did
nope,
think for a
wasn't
moment
real.
she might have been the master for a moment.
That's
And I
modern
listen-
thinking.
Mm-hmm. I like their dialogue too. Like it was kind of that old English phrasing, but just enough to, like, you know, separate them, but also kind of endear them. And Richard, the actor who played Richard, like the servant, at one point he's praying as like the cyber attack is
I know.
going on.
That was
liked
some
him a
good
lot.
business.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that from him. He's like really committed to this role.
yeah.
I agree. I liked these two, especially in comparison to La Flores and his German accent, which was just so cartoony. And I felt like these two, their old English accents were much better. And I almost imagine that these were two Shakespearean actors that they got to be in this Doctor Who episode, because they just seemed
It's very natural.
they felt very natural with this old English, whereas like the actor who played De Flores, I would be shocked if he's actually German.
Well, maybe I'm the odd one out then, because I didn't like it. I didn't think. I mean, the camera was something, but it was also just stagnant. It looked like a amateur production, either that we would do in high school or even college. The way that they were holding the guns and shooting, and how everything. Her delivery, I didn't think was good. I thought it was just.
Well, it was very over the top and hammy, but
I
that's
thought Richard did better acting at it.
As I was watching, I thought this is a really well done high school play. That's kind of how it, because like some of it, like I said earlier, like there's a lot of camera work in this. It doesn't always work, but there's a lot of it, you know. And they're like, man, they're really going for these performances. They are swinging for the fences here. So I'd rather someone push it than pull it than hold back. But
I do agree,
definitely
because
uneven.
yeah, because listening to the behind the scenes and the commentary, they definitely were ambitious, and maybe too ambitious for what the production was able to do. And so again, sort of like echoing what you said, Josh, I'd rather them try instead of pull back.
Well, it's kind of like, hey, let's have a shot like this with the special effects. Well, it won't look good, but can we do it? Yeah, well, let's do it. I will say I like the Doctor throughout. Like I really
Yes, I
enjoyed
do.
Sylvester McCoy. So
Yeah.
He was super charming though. I don't know much about this doctor, but what I saw, I actually didn't think he was this cute and charming. That was news to me. So, and I really liked Ace a lot too.
Yeah, this duo I do like a
Oh,
lot.
Ace is
Yeah.
great. I like
So
it.
this is what I kind of know is classic Who, and when we first started, and Eccleston and Rose and everybody was talking about the romantic connection with them, like this is a connection that is you can kind of not mirror but like look and compare against, because it's an older man and a younger companion, female companion, but there is no romantic things at all going on between them, and I like that they just play it the way it's supposed to play. And so again, this could be just me knowing classic Who, going into Eccleston and Billy Piper and kind of seeing that as the same character as the Doctor and not seeing any romantic entanglement. So again, that's why I like these two.
they got good chemistry together too. Their comedic timing is really on with each other.
Yeah. And they still get along in real life, and it's great to hear them in commentary on how casual they are with each other, and it's nice.
I think also what's nice about Ace's character, especially in this one with the Doctor, is she is making choices on her own that the Doctor like would even advise her against, but they end up being the right choices, like, oh, I hope you didn't bring any of explosives, and she's like, of course I did. Yes. So like and stuff like that is nice, because I think in the modern Who we get companions that will sometimes go against the Doctor, but maybe it's more for like when they get scolded, or it's for selfish reasons, or it's for things that don't work out. Where it is nice to see that she's not just like doing whatever the Doctor says because the Doctor says it. She's got her own thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, you are looking at the
I was going to say that the goal is the same. They just have different ways of achieving the goal. Where the other one, what I think what you're talking about with like Clara, is that there is that selfish motivation that we all have expressed.
Or even like, I think maybe the Pawns at some point, and others, like if they go against the Doctor, like the Doctor's instructions, it's often, for their own personal gain or something that they want, like whatever goal that is. Where I like this with Ace is like, she's also on mission, but she's doing it, the way that she knows how, even if the Doctor doesn't agree. But he ends up agreeing in the end because he knows. Yeah.
Because it got the result he wanted.
Yeah. And I like that, like tension, like there's subtext to it, there's multiple layers. So that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You're also seeing the broken in model. I guess I'm going to be the harsh one,
because
I was saying you're also seeing the broken in model of Ace, because earlier the Doctor is like, you have explosives, you're carrying around explosives, and he's really upset with her. So he kind of, mellows out when things turn out all right, but he's not happy with the way she has the explosives.
I was going to say that I guess I'm the harsh one on this episodes, but I've seen better high school plays than this. But for the things I do like, Ace blows up a cyber ship. So yay!
Yay!
The Doctor covering their noise with the bird calls, because that's totally him. That's Sylvester.
So he did that.
Really nice.
He did that on the commentary because they asked him, was that added in? He's like, no, that was 100% me, and he just does it on command. It was great.
Yeah, so that I thought was really a great fit, because he sounded great. So it's like, okay, that's what it is. So everyone bought that. I laughed heartily at, they're looking for patterns in jazz. I'm sorry, with jazz, it's just free-flowing and going, so it's just not getting a pattern in that. I thought was very funny.
And going back to when what you mentioned about Ace blowing up the cyber ship, the Doctor's lines of, "Hello, I'm the Doctor. I believe you want to kill me," as he distracts them, and then Ace uses the Nitro 9. I was like, that's pretty funny.
Yes. I do like the two of them together. I think they're a good companion Doctor. So that, yes, I do like that. I like that the Doctor kind of tricked the Cybermen. Was like, what are you gonna do? Just walk up here and give you the bow? Here's the bow. He comes in, just so that the Nemesis can follow the bow, so it's hooked to it, like a magnet.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of a good idea.
And he uses the umbrella to kind of like take it away.
That was this doctor. That was great for Sylvester. And then I didn't like, this is just me, but the typical American rich lady from the South.
Wait, is that the next episode or is that
It's the
That's
next episode.
Next episode.
Oh, is it? Okay,
because I
sorry.
definitely want to talk about her. So I was
Oh,
waiting.
we will. We will.
We will.
The blowing up of the ship, like watching it again as she throws the bag into the ship, like you can see her reflection on the piece of metal that's right at the door. Do you know, was that partly practical and partly like
Yes.
drawn in? Okay.
Yeah, so they definitely used models where they could for the bigger landing, wider shots, but that square cargo bay exit, that was definitely practical because one of the wider shots, you see that kind of poor matte painting over it.
Okay. But I thought that whole sequence of her throwing the bag in and then the explosion was really good. Like debris from the explosion, like landing, there was some parts that looked very nice.
Again, that's where they used the budget on. Yeah, speaking of that, that one sort of tracking shot where it's hovering into the forest, I think right before it lands, I'm like, I see what you did there. It's not
horrible.
It's not horrible, but it's also not great.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, they were able to do a lot of things because of the newer technology, but they couldn't do them very well because it wasn't great technology and have the budget to do it the way features do it and stuff like that.
Or time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it. Well, time is money. But I think it was successful. That was the thing.
I have one more thing. Just one more thing before we move on to before we leave this part 2. Something that amused me, and I know we've already talked about the Cybermen a little bit and the differences between like classic Cybermen and modern Cybermen, but when they moved the statue into Lady Peinforte's like not her tomb, like what do you call that? Like
the crypt?
Yeah, the crypt. When they move it into the crypt, and then later the head Cyberman informs the rest that like the reason they did that was to make her go mad, and like they're like she'll find that it's her crypt and the crypt is in disarray or it's like worn down or something, and that will just make her mad. And it was just like again, like I'm not used to hearing reasoning Cybermen, and so it's just very amusing to think that like these Cybermen are trying to play mind games on their enemy. But then she does kind of go mad. And so,
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of that, she shows Richard his tomb, which is something that has kind of been going on with the 11th Doctor, like Transalore and then Amy and Rory in Angels Take Manhattan, they see their headstones. So again, it's a little connective tissue to the modern version we're covering. Peinforte and Richard have a standoff with the Doctor and the Cyber Leader. Peinforte threatens to reveal who the Doctor really is. He agrees to give the bow to her in exchange for her silence, but he gives it to the Cyber Leader instead. The Doctor doesn't care if everyone knows his secrets, and Peinforte realizes she has no leverage. The Cyber Leader tells the Doctor to order the statue to destroy its destructive capabilities. The Doctor gives the bow back to the statue, asking if she heard the Cyber Leader, and she says yes. Peinforte screams insanely, runs to the ship, and merges with the statue. The ship takes off and destroys itself and the cyber ships. The Doctor didn't order it to destroy its capabilities. He only asked if she'd heard the Cyber Leader say that. Richard grabs an arrow that's been stuck to the TARDIS and kills the Cyber Leader. And that's that. They return Richard to 1638. Ace still wants to know who the Doctor is, but he's not talking. So a little thing to kind of tie it with Modern Who, the whole thing of Doctor Who from the headless blue guy, Dorian Maldivore. Yeah, so we get that in this classic episode.
Did they do that more often in the classics? Like have somebody say Doctor Who, or not as much as they?
I don't remember them doing it as much as Moffat does.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, the guy's wearing question marks all over him.
Yeah, but the question is, did they ask Doctor Who? And I don't remember hearing that. We see here that we were reminded of in a recent episode we did with the Cybermen that gold is a weakness to the Cybermen.
Oh, that was new to me.
Yeah, that's
But-
happened in Modern Who, and I just can't remember where, but it was recent.
Okay.
In Modern Who?
Yeah.
Oh, because I thought the Cybermen were immune to that.
I just remember it from something we did recently, and I am not recalling it right now.
Okay.
But that whole thing of DeFlores when he gets kind of cornered, he throws gold dust at the Cybermen. It reminds me
Yeah.
of that Star Wars meme, pocket sand. Pocket sand.
Yeah, I mean, the Cybermen being taken out by arrows that have barely punctured them, coins,
Because
and
it's
dust
gold.
is just.
But
It's gold.
But it's poison also. It's dipped in poison.
That's just the arrows.
That's
True.
why the coins, the one was able to
Pluck it out.
survive the coin, attack. Because it
He's
didn't have
only
the
mostly
poison.
dead.
Mostly
But
dead.
yeah, it's like hitting a werewolf with a silver bullet. It's dead.
Well, it was funny because Ace throughout these few episodes kept brandishing her. Oh my God! Thank you.
Slingshot?
She kept brandishing her slingshot with no apparent reason and all that stuff, but it was like all to set up the fact that in the end of the third episode she's going to use it. Otherwise, it would have been like, where did that come from? Even though if you weren't familiar with the fact that she has one.
Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Does Ace have a slingshot in other episodes, or was it specifically to this
think so.
story? Okay.
I think she
Right.
does. Yeah.
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 Slingshot, baseball bat, like her whole deal is she's an anarchist.
Explosives.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
She's prepped and ready.
Yeah.
I do
Very
like how
clean
she did
anarchist.
she had the 3 Cybermen around her, and she does that. I'm going to kill you, and the other 2 are going to shoot over me and hit each other. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Ace,
was
it's
good.
brilliant. I just loved that. I laughed so hard.
They had a real cool tracking shot with her running across like a big warehouse room.
Oh,
into
the
a
gantry.
door.
Yeah.
And,
I
and,
thought
then,
that was.
and then if you notice, the cameraman hits the railing but keeps
Oh no,
going.
I didn't notice
No, I didn't notice that. Well,
that. But there was a lot of good. That was pretty much the sequence I was sort of referring to earlier, where there's a lot of really cool shots that they can only do now because of the convenience of that modern day's video cameras.
Yeah. So
And-
that
And I was
particular,
trying to.
I was going to say that particular sequence was kind of sprung onto Ace because they said we're going to do this shot. It's going to be no more higher than a ceiling, and she was kind of afraid of heights. And so when they brought her up all the way up there, she was like, "This is chicken wire underneath me."
My God.
But she acted like she wasn't afraid, so that was great.
Yeah.
I want to know about the camera, because weren't cameras? Well, no, this is '88, but like, oh well, I guess they did have steady cams then. But it was kind of like, it's not handheld because it's not jittery. It did seem
Well,
kind of
they
steady
probably-
cameras because it did kind of move like this.
They may have had, they had steady cams back then. They were just big and bulky.
Yeah.
It was something, or maybe it was a dolly. They just used old film, techniques. Could have just been on a dolly. Didn't quite look it.
But there
But,
was no. But she
Are we
wasn't
talking about the
running on a
running?
track.
No. The track is underneath the cameras, so you don't see
Oh,
the
okay.
dolly track because it's going quite fast.
Mhm.
and it's very smooth.
That one might have been just handheld, and the
Mhm.
guy was just good.
It's really good handheld though.
Yeah.
Well, because you can see that hit. As
Yeah,
like
you see the hit,
something-
and so
Mhm.
that's
Doesn't
what
make
makes
a
me.
smooth
Yeah,
car-
it makes me think that there's somebody holding that because he's just following her. Again, it's very ambitious, and
It works.
yeah,
Yeah.
I even like the hit because it makes me think, oh, there's danger up there. This is not rehearsed. It's not.
Mhm.
Oh, and the recent Cybermen episode was Nightmare in Silver. That's why I couldn't remember because I'm thinking of Silver Nemesis. That's the one with Matt Smith and.
Matt Smith.
Mm.
But yeah, gold is their weakness still. In that
And
one.
playing chess. Chess plays an important role in
That's
that one.
true. Wow, look at that. Other modern Who connections.
Well, as a precursor to the lady, I thought it was very comical that he saw someone get picked up hitchhiking and attempted to do it himself and was unsuccessful for quite some time. So that was really cute.
Yeah, like he knew how to extend his thumb that he had to do that, but he didn't realize to put it up. He held it sideways.
Yeah, he didn't show enough leg either. That was the
Yeah.
problem.
So for so for the listeners, Peinforte and Richard are stuck, and they see a hitchhiker get a ride, so they attempt to get a ride as well.
There's a lot of traffic on that road.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Eventually they are successful with a limousine of all things, and it is
She's
a
so
nice southern lady from America.
she's such a rich American. She was able to bring her limousine over.
So true.
That's right, she was. And she just could not wait to pick up these people in period costume and not even ask them about why they were dressed like that.
Well, Americans are weird like that.
So that's Mrs. Remington. She's played by Dolores Gray, who's a Tony Award-winning singer-actress in America. And
so she was American.
yeah, and she was doing a Sondheim play in the West End. So the production crew approached her and said, "We'd like you to have a cameo.
Play the obnoxious American."
She brought her own jewelry, and a funny story about that: they were in like an attaché case, and the bellhop or concierge forgot to pack it when they packed her car, and so they had to find this attaché case with all her real life her own jewels, but they found it, and they did an old-fashioned facelift with her by physically taping the skin back.
That's
What,
funny.
to make her look more plastic? Because that's what Americans look like, or what?
Yeah,
Maybe.
Sure, yes.
I guarantee you, people watched this episode, and at the end, they went, "Boy, they really nailed that American. That's exactly how they are."
I was never in a rush.
I liked her
totally.
though. I think
I'm
that
sure-
she
I'm-
was because Lady Peinforte has lost her mind and is talking about owning it all in the past, present, future, and she's just like, that's right, honey," like, or whatever. "That's right, dear." Like,
I was waiting for them to kill her. Because if like she was part of the family, like her ancestors were an enemy of her.
Well, she
You
says
know.
she killed some of her ancestors.
Right. I was just waiting for that to come in.
She's also definitely a commentary
Yeah, they're
on annoying tourists.
Yeah.
but it is definitely mocking Americans, and they
Sure.
so many. I mean, I'm not kidding when British people are like, "Oh yeah, every American is exactly like that. They all sound like that. They all dress like that. They all shove their money. They show their money around."
Be fair, we do go over there to follow our lineage and like.
Yeah, and the lineage thing
I'm
too.
sure there's
They hate
thousands
that.
and thousands of us over there doing that. So like, I totally got it. Like, we would
Yeah.
make fun of them for coming here and doing something in a cowboy hat. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, how most British characters in the '80s on television wore tweed, had glasses,
Yeah.
drank tea.
Oh yeah, both sides did it, but
I actually didn't mind it. I actually got a good chuckle out of it, and I mean, it's not
Oh, I
like I'm
didn't mind it
taking these
either.
episodes seriously. So I was like, oh, this is a nice little comedy twist. I'll take it.
I didn't mind it at all. And again, it was completely useless.
I mean, but you didn't see it coming. Nobody saw that
No,
coming.
nobody saw that coming.
No.
well, okay, so when the Doctor's having that time alone with the Silver Nemesis, right? And I think this might be the moment where we learn that he's the one who launched it. Maybe even he's the one who brought it to Earth originally. I can't remember when we learned these things, but he's giving it its new instructions to kill the Cyber fleet. And there's this exchange where the Silver Nemesis is like, after I do that, something like, "Can I take my
Freedom?
Yeah, can I be free?
Well, yeah, there's some dialogue before that, but I guess the most important thing is that will I be free?" And the Doctor's like, "No, like I might need you later." And she's like, "That's what you said the last time." And I don't know, just like that whole I don't know, it was so loaded. So I'm like, what is going on there? And are we getting set up for something else? And what does this say about the Doctor? And that.
Yeah, I remember it. But by then I was so like, they're just throwing everything in. The writers didn't even know what that line meant. They're just throwing in everything, and by then I was numb to it.
I do like that, it's because it's television and you need actors to portray things. But I like that the weapon is personified, even if it's in the statue. And it definitely reminded me of The Moment. Is that the name of the weapon? that
the
is
box.
like that Billy Piper plays. Yeah.
Yes.
Rose, the image of Rose, where it's like these Gallifreyan weapons are all like intelligent and they're their own thoughtful beings in many ways. And so I like that connection was also there. Like, but these weapons with a conscience or with like
Sentience.
free, some sort of sentience, and like wanting to be free but still being captive, or even if they're just captive to their own like programming or creation is kind of cool. Like I like it, and again, it's because it's television, so it's much easier to have an actor playing something that can then talk than just like a red herring, not red herring, but like a
Deus Ex
gizmo,
Machina?
yeah,
Okay.
or something that's just like, oh, this is like the world destroyer and I just gotta flip a button. It's cool to have those actually be characters that then almost grapple with their own purpose in life, which is to destroy. So that's fun.
For this version of the Silver Nemesis being named Nemesis, it is about destruction. So it makes you think that like in another form or another purpose, it would be not destruction. But just interesting that the Doctor has used this weapon before. He stole it from Gallifrey. He's used it before. He plans to use it again because it's not all perfect yet, I think is the line that the Doctor says. So it's just like, who is this Doctor that he's like, what, trying to fix the world?
Well,
fix the universe? Fix the galaxies? Like,
and
what?
And especially the story that has Nazis in it, like that's kind of leaning towards this idea of the same thing that the Nazis were after, which is a pure or a perfect or whatever. So yeah, it was kind of weird for the Doctor to also say that, but like Brian said, it's probably just the writers trying to sound mysterious or sound
right. Well, I'm with Ace at this point then. Doctor, who are you? Like I want to know now.
Well, I was also going to say about Ace, with they had the picture of Ace and that kind of stuff. They were setting up Ace to be more than what she appeared to be, and then it got canceled. They never went anywhere with it. But there were hints. Were there hints in Remembrance of Daleks? I want to say there were.
I think that's where we first brought it up. So probably
first brought it up. Yeah. Wasn't she going to turn out to be a time lady or something?
Yes, that was their initial or their original plan, was to reveal that Ace is a part-time lady or full-time lady. I can't remember.
Like half-time Lord?
Interesting.
Is that what you mean by part-time?
Was there any? What was the logic or the motivation for Lady Peinforte to merge with the statue in some way? I just was like, I don't know. Okay, like it looked like her to begin with, or didn't, and then it was her the whole thing with her body not being in her tomb, and then her goal was to get in there and merge with it. Like I couldn't really follow like what the purpose, like why did she even want to do that? Was that her plan to begin with?
And remember there's also the Roundheads also show up. And does anyone remember when the Doctor drops that line? Like the last time I was here with the Roundheads?
Yeah.
Do we know who the Roundheads are?
Yeah, they were a faction. Some either the kings, the enemy called them Roundheads just because of the way they had their hair.
Oh, are they historical figures? Not.
Yeah, there really are things called the Roundheads. Roundheads were the supporters of the Parliament of England during the English Civil War.
Man, sometimes it's helpful to be British when you're watching this.
They fought against.
Sometimes.
You've got me.
Just a skosh.
They fought against King Charles I. I guess they cut his head off. Okay. I do want to see why they were called Roundheads.
There was the interesting characters. Were they like punks? Like
the skinheads.
Skinheads.
Neo-Nazis.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's okay. Then that's better. You look like social workers. We want better live. Yeah. There was some funny dialogue, but I did like Richard's line. I forget what it was now even, but money, you say? Yeah, and that. Yeah.
Those two probably spent an entire day in their underwear hanging upside down. And they probably got paid nothing,
They're probably stuntmen.
That's
in the commentary, they were wearing boxers to hide the harnesses that they were strung up by.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Sorry. Round tops were Puritans, but not all Puritans were round tops. But if you were a round top, you were a Puritan like our Puritans. And they wore their hair closely cropped round the head, or they had it flat to counterbalance between nobles who wore the long hair.
Oh, like the wigs, that type of thing, or no?
Yeah, long ringlets, as they say.
Yeah.
During the war, roundhead was a term of derision, and then they kind of turned it around and used it for their own purpose. Ooh, Cavalier was also. Nah, sorry.
As I mentioned before, there is a commentary on the DVD. There's Andrew Cartmel, who's the script editor. He's not necessarily the showrunner, but he oversaw a lot of the writing. And Chris Clow, the director of these episodes, is on there at first. And then Sophie Aldred and Sylvester McCoy show up later in the commentary. I don't remember if it's in the middle of the first episode or the second episode, but they are not there at the beginning, and then they come in later. It's very fun. As I mentioned, they are okay calling the effects dodgy, so I like that they can poke fun of themselves. Sophie grew up being scared of the Cybermen. She said that her mom would turn off the TV because she was hiding behind the couch and said, okay, no more Doctor Who for a while. So for her and she was specifically afraid of the Cybermen, so this was kind of her full circle to kind of face them off in person. So she talks a little bit about that, so that was fun. And then we have Sylvester McCoy being the Doctor, Sophie Aldred is Ace, and De Flores is played by Anton Diffring. He was a Fabian in Fahrenheit 451, the original movie, and then Colonel Kramer in Where Eagles Dare with Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton, where he also plays a Nazi. So he kind of made a career playing Nazis, and I
feel like guys who play Nazis always play Nazis. Like, there's a collection of them, and it's like you just open up the file and you go, oh,
I know.
This is who we're going to cast today.
Today's Nazi will be.
And he was born in Germany, so that's probably why he got that part for most of his life. Then we have Lady Peinforte, is played by Fiona Walker. She was previously in Sentence of Death as Kala. That's a First Doctor serial. Gerard Murphy plays Richard Maynard, who was Judge Faden in Batman Begins. He's the crooked judge that Bruce Wayne finds at that mobster bar when he goes to confront Falcone. He's one of those guys that is being paid off. And then he was Nord in Waterworld, if you remember that, with Kevin Costner. He was he had long red hair, who was sort of a third-party advisor to Dennis Hopper.
I only remember the Incredible Water Show at Universal Studios.
Yes.
Not the actual movie. So honestly, the water show is more famous than the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's everybody. That's like 90%. Yeah, that's 90% of the people watching that show. They have never seen the movie. Leslie French plays the mathematician who gets killed by Lady Peinforte. He was in The Living Daylights, and he I think he read for the First Doctor. Yeah, so it's nice to have him in Doctor Who finally. Martin Reed plays a security guard. We mentioned Dolores Gray as Mrs. Remington. And then the jazz quartet was Professor Courtney Pine, Adrian Reed, Ernest Mothel, and Frank Tonto. David Banks plays the Cyber Leader. He started off as a Cyber Leader in Earthshock with the Fifth Doctor, and then continued to play a Cyber Leader in the Five Doctors, Attack of the Cybermen, which we did with the Sixth Doctor, and a Cyber Leader in the Silver Nemesis, which we are doing now. The Cyber Lieutenant is played by Mark Hardy. He started on the Doctor Who show as a swampy warrior in The Power of Krull with the Fourth Doctor, and then played Cybermen in Earthshock and the Five Doctors as well. Brian Orrell also played a Cyberman. He was in Attack of the Cybermen as well. The Skinheads are played by Chris Charing, who was previously in Time and the Rani, and Simond Laws. And then Queen Elizabeth II is played by Mary Reynolds. And as I mentioned, that she has made a career doing comedy shows as the stand-in for the Queen.
Oh, she's out of work now.
Not if it's a period piece.
Yeah, good point.
All right, so final thoughts on Silver Nemesis.
I really enjoyed the story. I thought there was, there was promise of more in the Lady Peinforte and the Doctor's story with the time travel, which is always nice, to have that open-endedness, because it helps the world feel bigger. Like, we've said before, like there's adventures happening when we're not watching. Although, like, the interesting story to me might have been like how that time loop played out, where the Doctor initially set the comet and like what happened at that point. But overall, this was fun. I think Ace was maybe at her best, according to you guys. Like, she had some struggle finding the character early on, so it was really cool seeing Ace and the Doctor together. No, I would definitely recommend this to somebody that was interested in Classic Who. And I think the thing that we didn't mention, like this Doctor, played Radagast, so he's somebody that people I think would recognize even today. And so I would definitely recommend this to somebody looking for a Classic Who to watch.
I thought it was fun. If you can get past the dated flaws, it was fun, and Sylvester McCoy is great. That's kind of how I just sat back and enjoyed it.
I kept asking myself, why did Eugene pick this episode for us to watch? I did not like it. I did not think it was done well. I don't know if it's supposed to be a 6th episode and they just didn't have the money or time or slots to put it, or they just kind of cut it down into just some of the basic without explaining a lot. I thought some of it was just very amateur, so I would not introduce anybody to Classic Who with this one.
No, I don't like it. It like a lot of Classic Who, it just bounces all over the place with not much. A lot of the bouncing around, there's no reason for it. It's just to kill time, and there's a lot of killing time in this serial. I'm glad it was only 3 episodes. But like Frank says, it probably would have been better if it was longer. But that also kind of terrifies me. I love the 7th Doctor, and I really, really love Ace. I think they're both great. I think they work well separately. They work well together. Everything else, every single thing else in this episode just fell flat for me. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's your opinion.
Oh, and before we move on, that action figure that you have behind your head,
yes,
Eugene,
yes,
is that the specific action figure from this episode?
I don't
know. They actually sell
the one with the painting.
Figure with the painting.
Yeah. This one is not the one. It's the one from Remembrance of the Daleks, because it has the RPG and the bat.
Oh, okay. Because I just thought it was interesting that they actually have the portrait.
Yeah.
Telling
like,
me
God,
they sell that portrait and there's no explanation for it.
There is none.
Like someone took the time to make a toy, and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it was
or
deleted.
It's in Big Finish. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a deleted scene. I looked it up, yeah.
Oh.
And her boombox. Her boombox is there too.
This one does not come with the boombox.
Yeah, okay. Because I was just looking. I was like, wait, that's an Ace action figure. I must have one of those. I need it. Shut up, Frank.
He didn't say a word, but you know me so well.
Well, I liked this episode probably more than any Classic Who that I've been asked to watch for this podcast. And I don't know if that was because of the chemistry part of it was the chemistry between the Doctor and the companion. I think the other Classic Who episode that I have enjoyed as much as I enjoyed this one was Remembrance of the Daleks. And I think at that point I was like, I want to watch more of this Doctor and this companion, and I did not. So thank you for picking this one so that I could watch more of this Doctor and Ace, because I think they're just great. But this episode did capture my imagination and keep my attention more than other Classic Who episodes. So I enjoyed it. I would probably watch it again. I agree that there are parts where it's slow. I did fall asleep on the second watch, but I always fall asleep. Like, I feel like after the first part, I needed to walk away for a couple hours, and then I would have watched the second part with more focus
and energy.
and energy, yeah. But no, I really liked this story and everything about it. I really have no complaints.
I half agree with you. I think it's really fun, and I judge classic episodes way less harshly because I don't have a sort of preconceived notion of what these doctors are supposed to be like or what the companions are supposed to be like or whatever. So I did have a lot of fun watching it. However, I do have complaints. And those, for me, it's not even the bad special effects or any of that. My complaint is all of those unanswered questions. That somehow maybe it's because they had to cut stuff for the Cybermen. We said that, but that's not a good enough excuse for me to leave all these open-ended things like the painting and the chess game and all that. So that was the main problem I had with it. But if you can get over that, I mean, I had an enjoyable viewing experience. I wouldn't really call it, grade A television, but I didn't want to rip my eyeballs out.
Well, that's always the goal with the BBC.
We've done with this pair. We've done Remembrance of the Daleks, Battlefield, which is the one with the Brigadier, and then right now Silver Nemesis. So that's 3 we've done with Sylvester McCoy. Oh yeah, so I think it's been sort of clear with my connections with Modern Who. I think we brought them up sort of organically. I was going to list them at the end, but I think everybody sort of brought and touched upon certain things of just a connective tissue of Modern Who with Classic Who. I do enjoy this, and I think it's because when I watch Classic Who, I'm mainly looking for the chemistry between the companion and the Doctor. Ace and the 7th Doctor is just, you can see how Modern Who evolved from that.
Yeah.
Because they are just 2 people on a mission. They have the same goal. The chemistry works together. They work together well. And then you see in interviews and in commentary, the off-screen chemistry that they have is also genuine in there. So I do enjoy hearing them talk for the commentary and on the behind-the-scenes stuff. So all these dodgy, quote-unquote dodgy special effects that they have termed, I can kind of forgive, just because, like Brian brought up, this was 3rd season of Next Generation, and we're still getting dodgy special effects. Like, come on. I just felt like they put the money into all the pyrotechnics where they could have put money into a stronger script. Like, I get it. You want to use the silver anniversary, the silver season, the 25th season, by bringing in the Cybermen. Why didn't you do that from the beginning? Why did you have to shoehorn them in and then make all these other things suffer, where certain plot lines and plot threads weren't realized in the script? And seeing Sylvester McCoy in person at Rose City Comic Con, shameless plug, he was a lot of fun. So I can see how he became, why he was casted as the 7th Doctor. He's got that energy, and he's very spry for an old man. So I was amazed at how much energy he gave to the audience in that panel. Yeah, I enjoyed Silver Nemesis more than some of us did. All right, so that wraps up the Silver Nemesis. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
Additional music is by Damiel Paggio.
Additional music by Paul Ohlers.
All our episodes are engineered by Allburn, and you can find him at allburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, subscribe to us on Amazon Music,
and then ask your Amazon device to play your podcast subscriptions.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history,
and especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell, Sidney Newman,
Verity Lambert, Ron Grainer,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Hello, this is Sylvester McCoy. You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew? Clever name.